Hello my friends, and welcome back to Sinnoh region. In the last episode we tackled quite a significant portion of the city and completed the whole history district and added a large baseball arena for Jubilife Stars team, and I also worked on this fertile valley in the southern outskirts of Jubilife City, and it all made quite a great addition to Jubilife. And now as I finished off the northern part of Jubilife completely, while editing this video, I decided that in today's episode I want to concentrate on one project that is so much detailed that I decided to dedicate the whole episode to it. And in today's build I'll be focusing on one of the most detailed projects that I made yet in this game, the Elements Park, which serves as Jubilife City Central Park. This grand park features all 18 Pokémon types creatively represented in equally distributed tiles, and I experimented with a variety of assets, decals, props, surfaces available in the game, and paradox mods to ensure that each tile uniquely references its corresponding Pokémon type. In fact, because this park took so much time and is pretty content heavy, I decided that I will split this episode in two parts, and this one will be focused entirely on building this park, and the other part where I finish building Kita district I'll release within a few days. And before diving into Park's build, I would like to share a quick update. The valley we completed in the last episode now has a name. Thanks to a common suggestion, I've decided to name it Nazonokusa Valley, or the Valley of Oddish in Japanese. Oddish is one of the most iconic Pokemon from Generation 1, symbolizes fertility and growth, making it a perfect fit for this area. Big thanks to the viewer who suggested this name, and I would like to take a moment to thank my also recent supporters MN Drive 23 and Alfie K, who bought me a coffee. Your encouragement really means a lot, and if any of you wants to support this project beyond YouTube, I'm considering launching a Patreon soon, where I'll share more behind the scenes insights and involve patrons in decision-making process for Sinnoh's future. Once it's live, I'll make sure to announce it. And for now, the best way to support this project is to like this video and subscribe to the channel to stay tuned for more updates. And with that, let's just finally jump into the build of the Jubilife's Elements Park. There is a bit of backstory to this park for those who might not have seen the earlier episodes, particularly the one where I built Sanjam Town. Back then, I had the idea of creating a plaza that would artistically represent every Pokemon's type, and as a Pokemon fan, I thought it would be a great addition to that town. But the more I planned, the more it made sense to build something larger and more iconic in the capital of Sinnoh, Jubilife City. Back in episode 5, I sketched out this area in the heart of Jubilife as a perfect location for such a park, inspired by Sapporo's Odori Park. Like Odori, this park stretches across multiple blocks, giving it that long and elegant city center presence. While designing the structure, I kept a few elements in mind. First, I had to adapt the park to the existing road and tram network, including the fire line and grass line of trams, which cross through the park and divide it into distinct sections. I also decided to bring back the road named Sanjam Street to run through the middle of the park, reconnecting the city from south to north. And initially I planned the park to interrupt the road, forcing drivers to go around the park. However, I realized keeping that street intact would not only help the traffic flow, but also improve connectivity for future bus routes and prevent potential traffic issues. The second key point was ensuring that all the tiles in the park are equal in size, reflecting the idea that no Pokemon type should dominate another. They should all exist in harmony. To build on this concept, I placed careful thought into how the tiles are arranged, so no type is positioned near another type that is super effective against it. For example, water and fire type were kept apart to maintain that balance. And if you spot any contradictions to that logic while watching this video, please let me know, and I did my best to make it work. To measure and organize the tiles, I used basketball courts as a guide and aligned everything to the center with a single road marking line for precision. and initially I considered creating a straight line layout, but while practical it felt a bit too monotonous. So instead I opted for a wavy design, giving a park a sense of a flow where each type transitions smoothly into the next. And this approach added a layer of diversity and visual interest, making the park feel more dynamic and less rigid. It is subtle touch, but I think it really enhances the overall aesthetic and makes the park feel more alive. And once the design of the park was finalized, it was time to start filling the tiles with content. Unfortunately, due to an issue with recording, the first 3 tiles won't feature the build process in the detail. Instead, I'll showcase their initial designs and revisit them later to add more content. The first type I worked on is normal type, which is represented by a gray theme. And in the Pokemon world, the normal type is often associated with generic Pokemon you encounter early in the games. And despite having a few standout Pokemon, it's a type that doesn't gain as much love since normal type moves lack super effectiveness against others. And for this style I placed it at the park's main entrance, sort of, and designed it as a food court, capturing a sense of normalcy and everyday activity. I struggled a bit what to include here, but ultimately leaned into the concept of regular park area, simple, grounded, and reflective of the normal type's essence. The next type I worked on was Psychic type, which is actually one of the types that I like, and its main color is pink, and Psychic Pokemon are often known for their abilities to manipulate minds, causing confusion, inducing sleep, and then delivering powerful strikes. This type is particularly strong against fighting moves, making it a strategic choice in battles. For the Psychic type, I embraced pink as the dominant color and focused on creating a space that feels otherworldly and influenced by psychic energy. I included elements that appear to be levitating or kinetically controlled, giving the tile a sense of psychic abilities at play. To enhance the atmosphere, I added a small sand square at the center, a potential meditation spot for trainers to tap into their inner focus. And surrounding the area, I placed unique seating that feels like it's floating above the ground, though admittedly it might not be the safest spot to sit down. This park isn't exactly about adhering to strict safety standards, but let's imagine that some psychic safety precautions are in place to ensure everyone's well-being as we progress with the build. The next type I worked on was Dragon type, which is consistently one of the most powerful Pokemon across every generation. In Generation 4, the main legendary Pokemon Dialga and Palkia and Giratina are all Dragon types, adding to their prominence and awe. Dragons are no joke, they are strong, almost overpowered, though they have notable weaknesses, especially against other dragons, ice and fairy types, and this type is often associated with ancient power, mysticism, and a sense of grandeur, so I wanted the tile to reflect those qualities. I gave it a mystic look, incorporating stone pillars to create an ancient ceremonial feel, almost as if it was like a sacred ground where dragons gather or are revered. And the space also features a central focal point where I placed a custom designed decal, actually the only one I used for this park, to commemorate all dragon types in the game. This decal rests on a special stone tablet symbolizing the reverence to these mythical creatures. The dragon depicted in the design is not from the Pokemon universe, but is inspired by traditional Asian-style dragons, often seen without wings, and some Pokemon fans might even associate it with Gyarados, one of the most dragon-like Pokemon, despite it actually not being a dragon type. To enhance the atmosphere, I incorporated fire barrels, hiding them partially underground to create an ominous fiery effect, reflecting raw power and ancient energy often tied to dragons. The next type in line was Electric type, a fan favorite and one of the most iconic Pokemon categories. The most recognized Pokemon in the world, Pikachu, is Electric type, which symbolizes energy and power, and personally I love catching Shinx in Generation 4 games, and its evolved form Luxray ranks as one of my all-time favorite Pokemon across the entire Pokemon universe. Electric types always bring that thrill of power and speed, making them an essential part of any team. Interestingly, electric type Pokemon are only weak to ground type, which adds to their strong and reliable reputation in battles. For this style I drew inspiration from the assets available in the game related to energy and electricity. I used solar panels, power storage units, and the yellow side tracks often associated with metro systems, giving it a functional yet thematic vibe. One standout addition was the electric sign from the game, which adds a perfect nod to an electric company branding, and to enhance the theme I placed plenty of lights, ensuring this area becomes the brightest section of the park at night, glowing with vibrant energy. Later on, I plan to revisit it and expand this style into adjacent spaces, creating a broader thematic experience for the electric type. This will allow the entire area to better capture the dynamic and electrifying essence of this type. The next style I worked on was the bug type, a category that admittedly I tend to undervalue in the games. Through my Pokemon journeys, I've rarely included bug types in my team, as they've never felt like a priority for me. That said, bug type Pokemon are undeniably prominent in the games, with their unique strengths and weaknesses adding depth to the battles. For the bug type tile, I aimed to create a garden-like paradise filled with vibrant flowers and lush bushes, a perfect habitat for these Pokemon. I focused on the shapes and layouts to make the tile visually appealing, though I didn't want to dedicate excessive time to it, as bug types still felt a bit generic to me in this context. My primary goal was to craft something natural and harmonious that would fit the theme. In the end, I decided to use the crops surface from the farming pack, which turned out to be a great addition. It gave the tile a distinctive texture, blending well with the overall garden aesthetic, and provided a unique twist to this otherwise straightforward type. This tile also marked the first time I decided to extend beyond the central tile borders and incorporate elements into adjacent tiles, creating a more expansive and immersive experience. While I occasionally dive deep into detailing these adjacent spaces, for the bug tile, I kept it relatively simple. The focus remained on adding more flowers and natural elements to complement the garden-like feel. And then it was basically it for the bug type. The next type I worked on was Fairy type. Although this type wasn't present in the original Generation 4 games, I included it because it became part of the Pokemon world in the remakes and Legends Arceus. Fairy type was introduced in Generation 6, primarily to counterbalance the overpowered Dragon type, while also giving Poison and Steel type moves more offensive advantages. This type encouraged players to include these types in their teams for battles against Fairy types. The Fairy type's main color is a soft light pink, and many Pokemon resembling fairies were reclassified into this type. For the Fairy tile, I aimed to create a whimsical, fairy tale-like setting with a majestic garden feel. The tile features elegant, curvy elements, lush greenery, and a beautiful gazebo in the center that perfectly fits the theme. While the Psychic type tile evokes an eerie, possessed vibe, the Fairy tile has an opposite atmosphere, charming, celestial, and serene, embodying the grace and beauty associated with this type. The next tile I decided to work on was the ground type, and for this one I decided to lean into a sandy theme because ground types often evoke imagery of deserts, a recurring environment in many Pokemon games. While Sinnoh doesn't have a desert area, it does feature the underground, which is heavily associated with mining fossils and playing minigames. With this in mind, the tile not only represents the ground type, but also serves as a functional marker for one of the entrances to the underground on this map. Ground-type Pokemon are typically strong, known for their ability to devastate opponents with powerful moves like Earthquake, and to capture this essence, I incorporated a mix of earthy tones and a few desert-like plants and props partially buried in the sand to give the appearance of recent excavation. And this design brings out the rocked and raw power associated with ground types, while also referencing Sinnoh's rich connection to mining and discovery. And I have to say, this turned out to be one of my favorite tiles in the entire park. The combination of the sandy textures, excavation details, and desert-like greenery really brought the ground-type rugged charm to life. It felt like a perfect blend of functionality and design, especially with this nod to the Sinnoh underground. And later on I plan to expand this area further, adding even more depth and detail to truly honor the essence of the ground type. The next type I worked on was the fighting type, which is quite interesting due to its inherent strengths and significant weaknesses, making fighting type a strategic choice that requires good technique to use effectively. This type embodies the concept of using raw force, but also mastering it through discipline and practice, a philosophy deeply rooted in Eastern cultures and especially in Japan. For this style, I decided to focus on the idea of a dojo, a traditional martial arts training center that perfectly represents the essence of the fighting type. The central structure of this style is a dojo designed to celebrate the art of learning and owning fighting skills. Surrounding it, I added a small recreational zones where students and their Pokémon can relax and recharge between training sessions, and later on I plan to include additional fighting related amenities nearby to expand on the theme. The simplicity of the design reflects the principle that true strength and power are achieved through constant learning and dedication, and I think this approach captures the spirit of the fighting type beautifully and adds to a cultural touch to the park. The next type I worked on was Poison type, a category in the Pokemon world associated with Pokemon that exude various toxic liquids and often rely on inflicting status effects like poisoning their opponents. If not addressed in time, this condition can lead to a fainted Pokemon, making battles against poison types particularly challenging. And while poison types aren't my personal favorite, they possess a menacing aura and can be formidable opponents. For this style, I centered the design around the idea of vividly colorful acid lake, and it represents the dangerous nature of poison type. The lake's vibrant colors hint at its toxicity, conveying the idea that touching this water is not a good idea. To complement this, I drew inspiration from industrial storage facilities often associated with hazardous materials, incorporating large tanks connected by pipes to give the area an industrial feel. This style stands out as one of the most dangerous in the entire park, evoking a sense of caution and awe. However, I like to think that all these ominous elements are purely cosmetic and pose no real danger to the citizens and visitors of Jubilife City. It is visually striking representation of the poison type's essence. Having utilized 3 adjacent tiles for the poison type, I realized it was time to revisit some of the other type tiles and enhance them with additional touches. This reflection came after noticing that the most prominent type in this park is undoubtedly grass due to the sheer number of trees and greenery I've planted across many areas. While this lush environment complements the park's overall aesthetic, I wanted each tile to have distinct features that emphasize their unique themes. And returning to the fairy type tile, I decided to introduce a whimsical maze dotted with hidden artifacts for an interactive and magical touch. To elevate the overall design, I incorporated modular pergolas to create elegant entrances, giving the tile a charming storybook-like atmosphere. This addition not only enriches the fairy type enchanting vibe, but also provides a playful element for visitors to explore and enjoy. For the ground tile, I decided to expand on the desert theme by adding a few desert-inspired tents, and these tents could serve as a makeshift trading spots for exchanging artifacts discovered in the underground, blending functionality with thematic immersion. To balance the rugged feel of the desert, I added a cozy sitting area where visitors can imagine brewing tea and soaking up the desert vibes, offering a little oasis amidst the arid surroundings. And on the opposite side of the tile, I introduced a playground, quite literally playing on the word ground. I felt like the park needed one, and it seemed like a fitting spot to incorporate a fun, interactive element for families and children, and this addition not only diversifies the tile's purpose, but also brings a playful, welcoming touch to the overall design. For the electric type tile, I decided to incorporate a playful nod to Pikachu's iconic electric tail, and also by adding a yellow-themed train cafe. This charming addition brings a lively and whimsical vibe to the tile, blending perfectly with the electric theme. The cafe not only adds character but also offers a functional space for visitors to relax and enjoy a unique dining experience in the park. I thought this was a cute and fitting way to enhance the electric type atmosphere while maintaining its energetic and vibrant aesthetic. For the fighting type tile, I leaned into the battle and training theme, creating a dedicated space where Pokémon can sharpen their skills. This addition felt like a natural fit for the park, meeting the need for a proper training area and battle arena. And on the other side of the dojo, I added a literal outdoor gym for humans, offering a place to improve their physical fitness alongside their Pokémon. This dual-purpose design ties together the core values of strength and discipline, making it well-rounded and essential addition to the fighting type tiles. And to add for the dragon type tile, I chose to incorporate pergolas that to me resembled the majestic wings of the dragons, and these structures elegantly cover the benches, creating a shaded area for visitors to relax and unwind. The design subtly evokes the presence of dragons, offering a space where people can chill while immersing themselves in the mystique and grandeur associated with these legendary creatures. For the psychic tile, I expanded the theme by adding more flying elements to emphasize the ethereal and kinetic vibe of the area. I also included the recreational cafes, providing visitors with serene space to relax and enjoy the unique atmosphere. To tie it all together, I used a visually striking illusion-style tiling surface that complements the mysterious and mind-blending nature of psychic types. As for the normal type, the last edition, I opted to enhance its functionality by introducing an additional space for performances and contests. These events, which are iconic in the Pokémon world, provide a lively and engaging element to the park. Conveniently located at the park center, this space offers a gathering spot for trainers and visitors, embodying the inclusivity and everyday charm of the normal type. After completing all additions, I turned my attention to Ice Tile, the final piece of the Elements Park on the right side, positioned to overlook the Grand Sinnoh Assembly Building, which serves as a regional government hub and houses the Jubilife City Council. This tile demanded a special touch to match its prime location. Ice is a solid Pokémon type, though it carries both significant strengths and weaknesses with 4 each, making it a type that can be risky but rewarding in battles. Ice-type Pokémon often encountered later in the games, and they're valuable additions to the teams, especially with their effectiveness against Dragon types. For this style, I wanted to create something functional and engaging, so I placed an ice skating ring at its center. This unique ring operates under the idea of a magical perpetual frost, allowing it to remain frozen all year round, even during scorching summer days. Visitors can experience winter conditions and enjoy ice skating, regardless of the weather outside, making it an exciting and immersive feature of the park. To enhance the frosty atmosphere, I incorporated broken columns from abandoned building assets and recolored them to resemble realistic ice formations. These towering ice pillars added a dramatic and thematic touch, giving the tile a dynamic and immersive winter feel. Overall, I'm quite pleased with how the tile turned out. It is a space that encourages fun, relaxation, and a welcome escape, particularly during the hotter months. Whether with family or friends, this icy retreat is sure to be a highlight of the park. Next, we began working on the grass tile, positioned directly across the road from the normal tile and facing the main train station. From this point, we started filling the tiles on the opposite side of the park, and grass is one of the more common types in the Pokémon games, and many grass-type Pokémon possess unique and versatile abilities. For example, moves like Absorb can heal the user by converting damage inflicted to opponents into the life points. And grass types often bring balance to any team, and there are several fan-favorite Pokémon within this category. For grass style, I leaned into the farming theme, creating a vibrant and functional farmers market, and this edition allows Jubilife citizens and visitors to purchase fresh, locally sourced produce directly from this area, fostering a sense of community and supporting sustainable living. The centerpiece of this tile is a striking large tree that provides a natural shade for visitors. Beneath its sprawling branches, people can relax and enjoy snacks or meals purchased from the market. The overall design brings an earthy, fresh vibe to the park, emphasizing the connection between nature, Pokémon, and daily lives of Jubilife's residents. It's a tile that feels both thematic and practical, perfectly capturing the essence of the grass type. The next tile was for the ghost type, which naturally has a spooky and mysterious vibe. I've always liked ghost type Pokemon because they're immune to boss fighting and normal types, and their moves can be surprisingly powerful. For this style I went all in on a creepy theme, and the main feature is a tall tomb building which definitely feels haunted and looks like it could be a home to some mischievous ghost Pokemon. Around it I planted dead trees, and I wanted to add an eerie atmosphere basically everywhere in this tile. On the one side of the tomb I included a haunted house attraction, which was perfect if visitors wanted to test their nerves and explore something a little scary. On the other side I added a small cemetery with gravestones, keeping this ghostly theme consistent. This style feels really special to me. When you add a little bit of fog, it creates an amazing spooky atmosphere that really brings the ghost type to life. And I think overall this style is one of my favorites, and I really think it's a great addition to the park. Now we move on to the rock type, which as name suggests is all about rocks and formations, and in the game there are plenty of rocks to choose from, the big ones, the small ones, and everything in between that fit perfectly within this theme. This style was the one I didn't want to spend much time on, and although rock Pokemon are pretty cool, they're strong against fire and flying types, they do have whopping 5 weaknesses, which makes them a bit tricky to use in battles, but despite that they have their charm. And for this style I leaned into creating interesting rock formations, so I built an arch that offers shade and creates a mountain-like atmosphere where visitors can relax and enjoy the cool environment. And on the larger part of the tile I featured a tribute to one of the most iconic rock Pokemon, Onix. Using various rocks I assembled a statue-like figure of Onix, and I think it turned out really well. And it's one of the few Pokemon that was relatively easy to recreate with the props that are available in the game. And whether it is a statue or a real Onix frozen in time, I think it adds a unique focal point to the rock tile, and I think it is a great way to honor such a strong and memorable Pokemon, which was also featured in the Generation 4 games and its remakes. Next up is the dark type tile, which I personally enjoy for its sleek and mysterious vibe, mostly thanks for its black themed aesthetic. Dark types always have carried a certain cool factor, even if they aren't necessarily the strongest in battles. For this style I aimed to create a space that feels both atmospheric and recreational, and after some brainstorming I came up with the idea of featuring a moon symbolizing the night and a sun corona representing an eclipse, both fitting the symbols for the dark type. The eclipse in particular adds a sense of mystery and power, aligning well with the theme. To enhance the dark vibe, I used the surface lines to draw yellow claw marks symbolizing Umbreon, one of the most beloved and iconic dark-type Pokémons. On the opposite side of the tile, I designed a dark forest with dense trees where hardly any light can reach the ground. This shadowy area gives a sense of intrigue and danger, and those who enter might face their deepest fears. From the above, the tile has a truly dark appearance with its black surfaces and shadowy trees and overall theme, and I'm really pleased with how this one turned out. I think it captures the essence of the dark type while also offering a unique and immersive space for the visitors. We are almost at the end with just 4 tiles left, and this one is all about the fire type, one of my personal favorites. Fire Pokemon are powerful and always make a strong addition to the team. In the Generation 4, there weren't many fire types, so choosing a fire type starter often felt like the best option. And for this style I started by digging out the lava lake to really capture the fiery theme. It's probably the most intense and dangerous looking part of the park, just like some of the wild environments in the Pokemon games, and to balance things out I added some fire trucks nearby, just in case things get out of control. Next to the lava lake I built a traditional Japanese onsen or hot springs bath, tying into the volcanic theme. Onsens are a big deal in Japan, where natural hot springs are heated by volcanic activity, and I think it adds a nice touch of culture and relaxation to the area. I also used a lot of modular pergolas here, and they've really been super helpful throughout the park. And to top it all off, I added a charcoal grill food stand, perfect for serving some tasty grilled snacks. Whether or not those snacks include Pokemon is a question people have asked for years, and honestly it's a little weird to think about it, but yeah, it's probably a part of world building, I guess. And this fire tile turned out to be one of my favorites. It's bold, vibrant, and captures everything great about the fire type. The next tile represents the flying type, which is all about birds, the sky, and the sensation of the lightness. In the Pokemon world, most flying type Pokemon are birds, and they play a crucial role throughout your journey. In the late game, they are invaluable for transporting trainers across the region using Move Fly, and in my Sinnoh build this will be complemented by a robust public transport system, but we can still imagine trainers using Fly for a quick travel. For this style I aimed for a bit of an extreme experience, and I started by installing a tall watchtower overlooking the entire park, providing a breathtaking view from above. To enhance the theme I created a large sky bridge, perfect for those who aren't afraid of heights and want a bit of adrenaline. While I imagine there are some safety measures in place, the design itself uses Japanese style nets from the school assets to give it a structure. Walking across, visitors can enjoy the illusion of walking on air, with the sky-themed ground adding to the immersive experience. Overall, I think this style turned out to be an exciting and fitting tribute to the flying type. Getting close to completing the tiles, we now move to the Steel type. Known as the best defensive type in the Pokemon games, Steel offers incredible resistance to 10 other types, making Steel type Pokemon a fantastic choice for any team. Many Steel Pokemon are literally made of steel, often exuding a robotic or industrial vibe, which I wanted to capture in this style. To reflect this theme, I utilized a variety of industrial-style assets available in the game, blending them into a cohesive and engaging area. I also incorporated modern touches like repurposing industrial spaces into stylish cafes, which has become a popular trend in real-world urban design. Additionally, I converted one section of the tile into a small skate park, adding an element of fun and functionality. Altogether, this tile strikes a balance between an industrial grit and modern creativity, perfectly encapsulating the essence of the Steel type. And now we arrive at the final type, which gave me a true sense of completion for this park that took about a week and a half to build. We are closing things off with the Water type, one of the most popular and versatile Pokemon types. Water Pokemon are integral to the games, often allowing players to traverse the seas and bringing the sense of freedom to the journey. For this style I wanted to create a space that park visitors could actively use, embracing the calming atmosphere of water in a beachy, resort-like environment. This concept was inspired by other Pokemon region Hoenn, which is known for its abundant water roads and a lot of sandy beaches. I designed different swimming areas, added palm trees, and used sand assets to give a space a welcoming and relaxing vibe. The tile feels functional and inviting, capturing the essence of the Water type, while serving as a fitting final touch to the park. Completing this tile gave me a great sense of accomplishment, and I'm thrilled about how the park turned out. It's unique and something I would love to revisit or even tackle in another Pokemon region in City Skylines too, perhaps with an even wider range of assets. And let me know what you think of the park overall. Your suggestions are always a welcome, and the most creative ideas might even make it into future updates. This park was also a great testing ground for thematic builds, and it's given me tons of inspiration for designing Pokemon gyms in upcoming episodes. And with that, we wrap up this episode. Thank you so much for watching. I truly appreciate your support. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a comment sharing your thoughts, give it a like, and subscribe to the channel to stay tuned for more. The next episode is already in works, and I'm excited to share it with you in a few days as we finally complete Jubilife City. Until then, I hope you all have a fantastic time, and I wish you the very best. Take care, and see you soon.